to this side, and this guy, and this guy. Okay. So I asked you guys to clone this one, right? This one is your starter app. So if you haven't, just go to this link and then clone this in your local computer.
Sorry, am I the only one that can't see the presentation?
Oh, what about you guys? Can you guys see mine? Wait, let me stop sharing and then represent again. Okay, what about now?
Yes, can see now.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. See.
Right. So yeah, this is the link, the repo that you can clone. Just go to this link and then, if you're using Windows or some other like, Mac, just use a GitHub UI desktop to clone this one. You can search for GitHub desktop. I think you all have it, right? So yeah, just clone this one. And then after that, once you do that, go to the terminal, okay? So I have already cloned this one. So let me just show you guys what I'm. So I'm gonna delete this, okay? And then I'm gonna go to this one and then just click on this little clipboard icon. So where I can click on this, right? Click on it. Or you can download it as a zip file, why not, right? Just download it as a zip file if you don't want it. And then I'm gonna type in git clone to clone this one. So if you're using desktop, just paste the URL there. And then after cloning this, I have to cd into the repo folder. I put the theme. Okay, this is the folder. So now after that, I can open this up in my Visual Code. Okay, so something like this. Oh, what the heck? Why is no folder open? Eh? What the? Okay, let me just use my file explorer. So this is the app. I bought the thing. Where is it? Okay, right here. VS Code. Okay. Okay, it's just me. It's just my Visual Studio Code acting weird. Okay, now there we go. So now I'm inside here. So this is the app, right? It's just very simple one. You can just see like literally these are just HTML tags. So yeah, there's nothing crazy going on and some stylings in here, right? To make it look nice. So after that, you can open up a terminal inside here to see this app. Just run the npm install, all right, to install all the dependencies inside here for this project. Right, it's gonna take a while. Okay, done. So after that, you can just say npm run server to serve this app in your local host, right? Or you can use a Vue UI, whatever you prefer. Jean, can you follow this, or do you have the same error like last week?
Let me run. Let me install a little bit. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
npm install.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So now it's running on localhost 8082 right here. Okay. So your port might be 8080, but you should see something like this. Yeah, very simple one. Okay. So this is the app that we're going to build. Okay. So last week I showed you guys on the deployed side, but this one is my local one. So what I'm talking about is a Pomodoro clock. So separated by two different session and the walk and break right here. Okay. So once I can change the session to, let's say, like 1 minute and break to 1 minute. Then if I play the timer, it's gonna ask me to walk. So now I have to walk for 1 minute, and after that, it's gonna ask me to take a break for 1 minute. Then after that, it should take a increment and cycle right here. So that's the app we are going to build. Hey, who is this? Oh, okay. So yeah, does anyone have any errors, or you guys are all good?
So we just go to the local host to check, is it?
Yeah, you should see something like this.
Why is it 8082?
Oh no, it's on just on my computer because I have some other project running on 8080. But your port, it depends on. It should say something like which port it is running on.
Like how to open from the Visual Code to that
Or
page?
just type in the localhost 8080. What do you see?
Because my previously is 8000.
Oh, 3000.
8000.
Oh, 8000.
Mm.
Okay. So you can go to the 8000. Like,
there's nothing.
oh, nothing. Okay, can you share me your screen?
Yes. Just a minute.
Okay.
Sure.
What about in your VS Code? Oh, you didn't say npm run server.
Oh, run server.
Yeah, you have to say npm run server so that your app should be.
Run server actually means what? Run this.
It means like serve this application in my local host or on my development machine, on your local machine.
Do I have to do something like last time?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's really annoying. But did you manage to reinstall all the Node.js and everything?
Yeah, it's still the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then like I try to create a folder, but then I need to install
Right.
with force, and then it's okay.
Oh, okay.
So
You
should
have
I
to save your package JSON. You have to save.
save already?
Oh no, it's not. Actually, you see. Oh, now it's saved. Yeah, now you can try it again.
Okay. Install or run server? Install, right?
Oh no, npm run server.
And
But we already
install.
did the npm install, so it should be just npm run
Install
server.
is for all this site, right?
Dependencies, yeah.
What is dependency for?
Dependency is for your project. So Vue is Vue depends on a lot of other projects as well. Something like JavaScript and Code.js. So whenever you are cloning a repository or a project that contains a package.json file, it means that you need to do the npm install first. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Yeah.
Got it.
Nice. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So
Guys,
yeah.
when I tried to enter the localhost 8000, I went into the UI instead of the project.
UI.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Vue UI.
Oh, Vue UI. Oh, that means like you have a Vue UI somewhere, right? Are you opening this project in your Vue UI or using terminal?
I use a terminal to I
Oh.
use a terminal, but when I enter the localhost 8000, I went to the UI instead of the app.
Okay, so did you do npm run server?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so can you share your screen so that
Yeah.
right? Okay, yeah.
I'm in this directory already.
Oh, what's in your VS Code? Your VS Code. Oh, see, it says the error invalid archetype. That means something is wrong with in your deployer. So Control C, hit Control C. Okay, now you can npm run server. Oh, you have to npm install first, I think. Oh, wait, you're not in a correct directory. Can you ls it? Can you type ls? Yeah, there we go. So you have to go to that type of thing. Yeah. No, cd, yeah. Change directory. Now npm install and npm run server.
So basically, if I do this via the UI, I'll have to go inside the project manager and import.
Yes, import it.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, make use of like terminal, because Vue UI is kind of weird, to be honest. It's a beta as well, so yeah, it's not really stable. So terminal is we're just gonna build a very simple one, right? We're not gonna build like too complicated stuff. It's just a very simple one, and hopefully we also learn set timeout, like JavaScript time management, in what we can do with it. So yeah, because like today is gonna be like algorithm focused, not VueJS or any other stuff like that. So yeah, just to refresh your JavaScript stuff.
It's taking
Oh, it's
taking
taking
a
a
while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can stop sharing and yeah, let me know if you have anything. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's start. So I'll briefly explain the code in the VS Code that what we have here, right? Okay, it's still saying loading. Okay, now you should see my screen. So now my app is running on localhost 8082, which I can see, and nothing too crazy going on here. It's like I can see a background color. I can see a little card inside here, and these are just CSS. It's not JavaScript or whatever. So let me close this one, and then show you guys what this is, right? So I don't have any components or like single file components. All I did was I just wrote all my code inside this app.vue, all right? So here's the div with a card and like some HTML and CSS, but you can literally change it to anything you want right here. Okay, and then we have a play and a restart button right here. So the logic is pretty simple, right? Let us write a very simple how you call it, pseudocode. Okay, logic or whatever, right? So the logic is very simple. Whenever a user clicks on this play button right here, we're gonna start the timer. Now we're gonna start with a fixed timer. Let's say like 10 minutes, for example, right? So when a user clicks on this one, we will count the timer from 10 minutes to the 0 minute, like your alarm clock or whatever, right? And then when a user hits on this, when a user clicks on this restart button, we're just gonna reset the timer to a 10-minute mark and then restart it all over again. So very simple. And we're gonna have two sessions. The first one is the walk, okay, and secondly is the break. So let's write it down right here. Okay, user can click on play button to start a timer, right? And then they can restart the timer, but I'm not going to write it in here. So yeah. And another one is F2 session. Okay, walk and break right here. Okay, now 10 minutes, or let's just say 1 minute, okay, for a walk, and 1 minute for a break. Now it's gonna go like this. So when the user clicks on a play button, we're gonna start a walk timer for 1 minute. Then after we are done with this walk, then we're gonna start the break timer right here. Then finally, after we have completed these 2 sessions, we're gonna increment cycle by 1, right? So 1 cycle means like you have to complete both of this. So totally it should be 2 minutes, right? Yeah. So that's the very basic logic right here. But the concept is like right here. I'm not going to use like the crazy components and all that stuff, but we're just going to clean this code later. But for now, let's just, try this one out right here. So I don't have any data or whatever, right? All I have is a very simple HTML and the CSS. Okay. So, and I'm not going to change these styles for now. It's just going to be stay there, right? So let me refresh and show you guys what I'm talking about right here. Okay. So in JavaScript, there's a timer called setTimeout. Okay, you can search for it if you want, but that's a built-in function in JavaScript. Now, what's this? Now, setTimeout is a function that takes in a function as a parameter. Okay, so meaning that you have to call this function, and then you have to specify a delay in milliseconds right here. So after this millisecond, it's going to run the function that is inside here. So basically, after 3 seconds, it's going to fire this function called hello, right? So that's the set timeout. Now, if I hit on try it by myself, now once I click on this button, you can see that after 3 seconds, I should get a hello alert, right? So now if I click on this, I have to wait for 3 seconds, and there we go. After 3 seconds, I got a hello. Okay. So after 3 seconds and hello. Okay. So it's just very simple. To write this function, let me show you guys what I do here. So I'm going to write this function in JavaScript right here. Okay. Inside just above the script. So it's called setTimeout. So it goes like this. So you can either choose this, one. Just click on this. So it should give you something like this. Yeah. setTimeout. So you can see is a JavaScript language basic built-in function. So right here, you specify your time in milliseconds. So in milliseconds, 1,000 means 1 second. So 3,000 should be 3 seconds, right? So after 3 seconds, set timeout, after 3 seconds, we are going to run a function that is inside here. Okay, so this is the function that's, so this is a parameter, okay? It takes in a function as a parameter. Right? Now I'm just gonna alert after 3 seconds. Okay, now if I save, see what happens there. Let's go back. Okay, so now if I refresh, I have to wait for 3 seconds. Then there we go. So after 3 seconds, I got it, right? So that's the set timeout. We're gonna make use of these functions to create a very simple timer right here. So this is just gonna delay the functions. Yeah, delay by timeout. Okay, 3 seconds. Yeah. So what it's doing is delay the time. Okay. Now there's another one called setInterval. Now setInterval is similar to setTimeout, but it's yeah. So if I go to the setInterval right here, alert hello every 3 seconds. So it's gonna be run forever. You see here. So if I go there, then click on try it. Now hello. Hello and hello and hello again. Right? So yeah, this is the function that it's going to run for forever right here, unless I try to stop it. So it's going to run every 3 seconds again and again. So if I click this, see, now it should start. Okay, then it should run again every 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds, it's repeating this, function right here. Yeah. If you want to stop it, you have to either refresh your page or just close your browser. That's the only way that you can stop it. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So yeah. See, if I click on this, it's stacked forever. So that's the set interval right here. And if you want to use this set interval, execute function interval, okay, at every millisecond, okay, at every second, at every 3 seconds. So set interval is called set interval. So you can use this first one, this one. So if you have a VS Code installed, if hopefully you're using VS Code, because these functions, they give you a like an IntelliSense to a function, so that you can just pick this one, and then you can specify a timer, second right here, the interval. So I'm going to run this function every 1 second. Okay. Now I'm just going to console.log right here. What should I log after 1 second? Okay. Now I'm going to comment this one out and then save it. Okay. So this is going to run every 1 second right here. So every 1 second is going to console.log this after 1 second, forever. Let me go back. Okay, and refresh. So you can see that it's going forever, every 1 second, after 1 second. So it's like now at 10. Okay, so every 1 second it's outputting this. So you can see that right here. Okay, so that's the set interval. Okay, so we can make use of these two functions to increment a timer right here, or decrement a timer, right? So say like you start your timer within 1 minute mark, and then you have to decrease your timer again and again. So yeah, that's how we're going to do it. So before I start, I'm just going to get rid of this set timeout, because we only need set interval right here. So set interval is going to execute your function every 1 second right here. So you have to specify a millisecond. So you can either say 2 seconds or 3 seconds, right? But we want to build a timer, meaning that every 1 second it should decrement the timer by 1, right? Or a second by 1. So that's how we're gonna build this one. And if you do that correctly, let me specify a very simple timer. And it should be 60 at first, right? Okay, let's just specify 10. 10. Now every 1 second, I want to decrement this variable right here by 1, right? So timer is equal to timer minus 1. So it's going to decrement the timer by 1. And then let me output this timer. Okay, so it's going to act like it's going to take 10 seconds to reach to 0, right? Now if I go ahead and open this up, oh, holy cow. Okay, I have to refresh it. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 0. Okay, but yeah, it still goes on forever unless you refresh your page manually. But yeah, we're gonna learn how to stop that function, because like if you don't stop these set interval function, it's just gonna be stored inside your memory forever. So yeah, it takes in user memory and all that. Like it's not good for the user, right? So now if I refresh again, you can see the set timeout, set interval running in the background right here. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna integrate these functions. inside our code, right? Timer. It's very simple. It's just using this function called setInterval. Nothing too crazy going on. So yeah, and then you have to do like some little mess to convert the date between, from millisecond to a second, and then the from seconds to a minute mark, so that like very simple math. You can just Google those. And now if I refresh, now I'm gonna have a instead of in here, I'm gonna have a data property inside here. Okay, so a data property in VueJS is nothing but just a data property, right? So that you can display them inside here, for example. Okay, so let me get rid of this. Now back to the old one. Now I'm just gonna add in some data. Okay, and your data object should be a function, and it should return an object like this. Okay, so something, if you want to define a data property, you have to use it like this, and then you specify your timer inside here or anything, right? So now I'm just going to specify a timer that's set to 10. Okay, if I have it now, if I save, it should be there. Now whenever a user clicks on this button called play, I want to decrement this timer by 1. Right, every 1 second I want to decrement this timer, let's say like -1, -1, -1, again and again. Okay, now if you can remember the VueJS, how do you catch an event in JavaScript in VueJS? It's a v_on, right?
Guys,
Yeah.
just some syntax.
Okay,
Like data, I can put the colon, right? Colon and then the curly bracket, right?
colon and curly bracket. No, it does not work like this anymore. And when you're using the .vue files, because if you're only using the CDN version of VueJS, this works, right? But if you're using a .vue extension or single file component, this doesn't work. Because if you do that, let me show you what Vue says, right? If I do this now and then go back, so you can see that it says like data property in component must be a function right here. Okay, so just ignore all these. Let me just refresh. So you can see the data property must be a function, and now Vue also warns you in the console right here. The data option should be a function that returns a per instance value in component definition. Now, why is that? Because in .vue files, they don't know what this keyword means. What I mean is, let me. So say like you have a methods in here, some kind of methods, right? Let's just say like start or whatever. Now you have some methods, right? And in here, how do you access this data property? You use this keyword, right? And now when you say this, you have to specify a data property name right here. Now, if I want to access this timer, I can just go ahead and do that. But when your data property is defined like that, it doesn't work, because now this keyword only represents an object that is within here. So whenever I do this one, it's related to object. So whenever I, let's say, like do this, okay. Or let me just do a very simple one. When a user clicks, I want to call this function called this.start right here. Okay. Now I'm just gonna console.log that timer that is defined inside here. Okay. Now if I save, okay, ESLint is still saying me the data property in component must be a function. So I'm just gonna disable ESLint for now, because like I don't want this to interrupt the one that I want to show you guys. So let me just disable the ESLint. Okay, now I said that whenever we click on this button, we're gonna call this method, right? So if I click on this now, it's now undefined. Now because even though your data property is correct way, right? If you're using Vue CDN version, you can use this one, but we are using the CLI, right? A single file component, so it doesn't work like this, because this keyword only represents this object right here. the object within it. Okay, so but when you say this.name, now see what happens. It's still gonna say undefined because this is not a part of the object. But let me show you right over here. There's the methods. Okay, this method right here. Holy, it's still gonna be undefined. Yeah. Okay, let's just console.log that this keyword. So when I console.log this keyword, you can see that this keyword is actually a Vue component itself right here. Okay, and it's controlling this app. Okay, now, and then you try to find the data in here, you won't see any data. Okay, even though there's a data, but we have added our data in an object way, not the function way. So this doesn't work, right? But if we define our data in a function way, let's just say this, and then you have to return it in a function. Okay, now if I save and then refresh again, now if I play this again, then click on this, and now if I go all the way down to my data, I can now see that there's a timer object in here, right? Sorry, timer property in here, because my function, sorry, my property, I have defined my data in a function way, not the object way. Okay, so yeah, that's the problem right here. Vue does not know where this data is or the property is, because when you define a function like this or a data property like this, what Vue is going to do is when our application is mounted, it's going to call this data method, and then that method is going to return this object right here. So at the end, you'll be left with something similar to this, like this. Okay, so after compiler. But yeah, but when you define it like this, Vue does not know that the data property is actually an object, so it cannot call the function, because this is not a function, this is an object. So yeah, that's why it's not working. So you can actually search for it. I think I can. There's a Vue explanation of it. Data property in Vue. Okay, so that's how they define. It's no, this is not a CDN version. Okay, so data must be a function right here. So that each instance can maintain an independent copy of a return object. So in here, in a typical app, however, you will likely have an array of posts and data. But this one, they define an object in here. This data is not a function, it's an object. That's because they are using the CDN version. They are showing the example for the CDN version. But for the CLI version, the data has to be a function. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay. Right. Now I have this function, right? V on click. Whenever user clicks on this button, we're gonna play our timer, or we're gonna call this method called start. Now inside this start, what I can do is a very simple one. I can use a setInterval, right? setInterval, the first one. Now I can also specify an interval in here. Now every 1 second, if this is in millisecond, I'm gonna decrement this timer by 1. This dot timer will be set to this dot timer -1. Okay. Now this is just a very simple, code going on here. We are decrementing our timer every 1 second, and then we are updating its value. Okay. So that's what we are doing. Now if I save, when I hit on this clear, start button, it's gonna do all these stuff. So let me just refresh. Then let me open up a view and then click on app. Now my timer is at 10, right? Now if I hit play, it's still at 10 because I have to refresh right here. So you can see that, the timer is going on forever. 1, 0, -1, -3. It's going to go on forever unless we tell it to stop. Okay, so that's how you do it. But why don't we just display this timer in here instead of displaying the, like a static data? We can use a mustache syntax to output data property or to write a JavaScript code in HTML, right? So like this. And then what we want to do, we want to output this timer right here. So I'm just gonna take this timer, okay? Like this. Now if I save, it should be 10. If I refresh, now it's at 10. But if I hit play again, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and forever. So unless you tell it to stop. So yeah, that's the that's how you start a timer. But yeah, did you guys got this working like this very basic one? When you're working with Vue Pomodoro, have you got to this point? Or no?
Well, I did mine, but then the mustache syntax doesn't work.
Oh, how come though?
No idea. But this time it works out.
Oh, okay. Cool. Right here is how you output the mustache. Because like in an HTML, whenever you want to write a JavaScript code in HTML, always use this mustache syntax. It's very simple, right? Nothing too crazy going on. All you have to do is just like do it like this, and that's it. And here you write, normal JavaScript code as you would in the script parts. You can call functions. You can, check for data property. You can multiply timers and all that, and all these stuff. So if I refresh, now hit play again, it's gonna play forever, right? So yeah, that's how you start a timer. But of course, all we need to do now is just convert this second to a minute as well, right here. Okay, that's how we're gonna do it. Now, I just want to fix this restart button right here. So whenever user clicks on this restart button, if you guys want to recap on your component basic, I have a very simple. Where did I put it? I'm gonna send you a link. It's very good. Okay, so inside the component basic recaps, go inside here, and here's the README file. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna explain you all these directives right here. What these v dash means, what are those, and like v model and all that. V on is for functions. Sorry, v on is for event listener. Okay, and v4 and all that, props and events as well. Let me send you a link. Okay, so now when a user clicks on this button, we're gonna reassign the timer to 10, right? Restart. Now I have to make this function called restart because we are calling this function right here, right? Now let's just make this function called restart. Okay. Now inside here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna reset this timer back to where it was. It was at 10, right? So we're gonna set this to this.timer will be set back to 10. Okay. So when a user clicks on this restart, it's gonna reset the timer. And if I save, refresh, play again. Now it's gonna goes on for like, yeah, let's restart it at 0 or 1 or Now if I hit restart, so you saw what happened, right? Play, restart, restart. So it resets the timer to 10. So now I can just click in it, and then it's not gonna break. But why is it going too fast? Yeah, that's one thing we're gonna have to fix. But yeah, let's just worry about later. Restart, play, restart, start, restart. Now when I spam this button, it's the timer goes very fast. That's weird though.
Guys, a bit fast.
Or the who timer.
Yeah.
No, me. Yeah. yeah, sure. Okay, so right here, can you see this one? Start timer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so what's going on is so whenever like this one is just a listener, right? V on clicks mean listen for click event, right? So when a user, this event comes in called click, when a user clicks on this button, we are calling this function called start. Okay, and then when a user clicks on this, we're calling another function right here, restart. Now inside the restart function, we are resetting the timer to where it was, like 0 or 10 or whatever, right? The property is. But inside the start one, this is where the logic begins, timer begins, right? So we are using a default setInterval. Now this setInterval is a built-in JavaScript function that's gonna execute whatever you type in here, like intervally. So if you specify like 1000, it's gonna execute every 1 second. Okay, so intervally, right? So every 1 second, we are decrementing the timer by 1. That's how we are doing it. So yeah, setInterval. You can go to this one, and I think here's right here, setInterval method will continue calling the function until clearInterval is called. But yeah, don't worry about clearInterval and all that. But setInterval will just keep calling the function. Okay. What I mean by function is this function right here, the inside here. Okay, this code. Okay. So all the window is closed.
Can
So
you go
one,
back again? Sorry.
oh, right here.
See that? Yeah.
Oh.
So the metas here, we must use colon, right?
Colon. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
because it's actually, if I simplify this, right? Do you guys know the JavaScript functions, right? Functions can take in a parameters. Now, what is a parameter? Now, a parameter is just a placeholder variable. Okay, so you can just pass in any parameter in here. Now, this is a function right here. Okay. Now, the first parameter that it takes in is a function itself, like this. Okay. So, and then the second parameter that it takes in is a second. So how many seconds you need to execute this function in here? So if I say 1 milliseconds, okay, sorry, 1 second. And now let me just console the log every 1 second. Okay, so this is a function right here, this part. Okay, this function will be executed like every 1 second. Okay, because this is called callback. Now callback meaning that it's a function that takes in another function. That's a callback function. So yeah, JavaScript. So callback. Okay. So every 1 second it's gonna call back this function, right? So that's why they are called callback functions. So every 1 second it's gonna call back this function right here. Every 1 second. Right? So now if I save, and then go back, refresh again, play. Now every 1 second, you see the function is being called. This function, right? So yeah, setInterval is nothing but a function that takes in of another function right here. Not just setInterval, but also setTimeout. So you can see the callback in JavaScript, callback function. There's a callback. Callback function in setInterval. Okay, that's how they're doing. So see, like this. So every 30 seconds, it's calling this function right here, setInterval. That's what we are actually doing right here. So every 1 second, we are outputting this, but I don't want to output this, right? I want to set the timer. This dot timer points to this object property, right? So this dot timer -1. So I'm like decrementing this, and then I'm reassigning this right here. Okay, this is just a very basic JavaScript. It's a variable, right? So okay, now if I go back and refresh, if I hit play now every 1 second, the timer is being incremented right here because we keep calling this function. Okay, this setInterval is keep calling this function right here every 1 second. Now if I change it to 2 seconds, every 2 seconds is going to call this. Okay, that's why now we are at -8, and the numbers are infinite. Infinite in JavaScript. So this one never gonna stop unless we tell it to stop manually, right? So that's how we have to do it. But setInterval, what it's gonna do is just gonna store inside a memory in your computer or whatever, right? And then it's gonna keep calling the function. So that's why when this function keeps running forever, then you don't want it to happen. So now let's see what happens if I change it to 1 millisecond. So every 1 millisecond, hopefully this does not break my call, but yeah, if I save it now, play this now, you can see that it's gonna go like every millisecond. So yeah, but yeah, don't do this lah. So let me quickly refresh it. Okay. Now we're displaying the timer. Now does anyone of you know how you can convert the seconds from milliseconds to second to a minute?
Use the milliseconds times 60.
Okay, no, it's not a millisecond, it's a second, right?
1 second.
Yeah, this one is second. So we have to convert this to a minute. So 10 seconds means 00, colon 10. Should be something like 00 and then 10 and so on.
Times
So,
1,000.
yeah, because I'm not good with math. Now, right here, we can just convert it manually. I told you guys you can write a JavaScript code in here, right? So you can either, let's say, like, times by this one is second, right? So we can just modulo it by 60, I guess. It says 10, okay, which is good. Now, when you say modulo 60, it's actually going to convert it back to a minute, right? Now, for the second, we're just going to add in this little colon in between, right? Because we want to display it as a real clock. Now, we can just times it by, I mean, like, we can just show the timer right here. Okay, 10, 10. No, it's not good. So now it's going to be 9, 9. I think there must be a way. Convert. JS. Okay, times by 60 minus times by 60. That's too confusing for me. Let me just go back. I just wanna, you know, like literally just a minute. Okay, they divided by 60 for a minute, and then they times modulo by 60. Okay, I got it. So this one should be divided, and this one should be modulo, like divisor, right? Oh, sorry, the remainder. Okay, now, oh, dang. Yeah. Do you guys know why this happens?
Timer?
Yeah, because like we're dividing by 60, right?
Yeah.
Now,
That's
yeah,
MS.
so it's like, yeah, we have to round the number. Now we can write a JavaScript code in here. Now we can round it to math.flow using, right? Like this. And then how many zero we want? We don't want any zeros. Or sorry, we don't want any trailing, you know, like points. We just care about this. And now if I modulo it, so it's gonna, you know, divide the timer by 60, and then it's gonna round it to the nearest integer, and so on. Okay, now this works fine, right? 0, 10. Now if I hit play, 9, 8, 7, 6, there we go. That's the timer right here. Very simple, right? So, and now, yeah, of course, it's gonna go like, you know, like -1, because we have to stop it. Like when you know a timer reaches to 0, we have to just manually stop it. But yeah, you get the point, right? So if I refresh, this is just a very, you know, generic way to get a second and a minute in JavaScript right here. Okay, but if your timer is a minute and it's not stored in second, you can, you know, just convert this to the first one. So it's the, you know, order right here. Play it again. But yeah, we're gonna add a, you know, extra 0 in front later, because this looks weird, right? I've never seen a clock that looks like this. They have an extra 0 in front. Okay. So yeah, right here. Now this one let me just add a comment. Okay, get a minute and a second from timer, because our timer is in second. So when we modulo the timer by 60, it's gonna give us you know, the existing one right here. But say like our, you know, because like this is 10 seconds only, we get the 10 right here, right? But I have a Node.js one that I can show you guys. Let me start to write this in Node.js. Get right here. This one's very simple. Okay. Now inside here, what happens if you divide the, you know, 10, or sorry, use a modulo on 60, 60, find a remainder. Now it's going to be 10, because like obviously you can see that y is there, right? But this is in a second. Now if I try to find a second in a 60-second mark, then I should get 0, right? But say like I have a 2-minute timer, it should be 120, right? Now if I try this now, it should be 0. So yeah. Now if I set this to, let's say like 120 now, okay, this is now 120, yeah? So it's in second now. If I go back, so now the minute is 2 and the second is 0. But if I play now, 159, you can see that, yeah. So that's why we wanna, use this one, because even though this is in second, you shouldn't like just, display it like this, because we have to convert a second that respect the minute as well. So because we already have a minute. Okay, now it should be like, now what we have to do is, all we have to do is when a second is in 0 mark, we're just gonna add a 0 in front for a minute and for a timer as well, for a second as well, yeah. Okay, so time to like fix this one, because our application is almost complete, but the problem is we're not stopping the timer when it reaches to 0. Okay, so you can use this one called clearInterval. Now I already show you a setInterval, right? SetInterval is just gonna set the interval by 300 milliseconds, and so you have to, it's a callback function that takes in a function and so on, right? But yeah, I guess we can, you have to do your research on that, but yeah, it's called clearInterval. Now there's a difference between a setInterval and clearInterval, but you can guess it by the name itself, because setInterval is going to run forever unless you tell it to stop. So how you tell it to stop is to use this clearInterval, right? So if you use this clearInterval and then you stop a timer, then it's going to work. But yeah, but here it's just going to run forever, so we have to find a way to stop it. Okay, clearInterval right here. Okay, so yeah, you can do your own research and then try to find a solution, I guess, and then integrate in your code. Hopefully you guys followed along. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And then yeah, meanwhile, after doing that, I think you guys can do it within like 5 minutes. But yeah, if you have any questions, then feel free to ask me. Yeah, and after 10 minutes, sorry, after 5 minutes, yeah, let's take a break, because you guys asked me for a break last week.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Okay, so if you have any questions, then in the break time, you can just ask me. Yeah, I'll be here, right? So just do a research on this clearInterval in 5 minutes as well, and then yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Yeah, cool, guys. And if you, yeah, your timer starts now. You guys know this game called 2020game.io? Do check it out. It's actually a 2020 in a nutshell. So what happened? All these coronavirus and all these World War IIIs. Yeah. So you can literally play this online game. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know whether you guys have seen it, but someone sent this in a group.
Yeah,
Now
I
it's
think I
really
recall seeing it.
Yeah. Was it you?
No, it wasn't shared by me, but I did play the game.
Oh, yeah. Look kind of like retro game. Very cool.
This is the Australian Fire, is it?
Yeah, this is the Australian Fire. Yeah. And then you can also pick up a toilet paper as well, which is like crazy. Now I can't even make this to work.
Just curious, like all these IO games, they are created using
Yeah.
what
Because I've never created a game, so I don't know. But mostly they use, like canvas. Oh, for panda right here. Oh, sorry, not a panda, koala. Okay, now what's this? Oh, there we go. You have to wear a mask. Okay. Okay, keep a social distance.
Where muscle? Still
Wow.
got tissue paper.
or the hogging or hoarding.
Avoid the coronavirus. Gym
Now
close.
this gets close. Great. Restaurant. Oh, damn. Stock market crash. Wow.
Goodies.
Up for grabs.
Yeah, even Facebook.
Shouldn't you take it? The apple?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, now you have to take in the quarantine, and then you have to take in all these papers. Oh, I have to wait because I'm in quarantine. Okay. Locks down clear nature. Oh,
Who created this? For what usage?
yeah, I don't know. There's no info. Zoom call. You on?
You're on mute.
Sorry
Can
for
you see
that.
my screen? Your connection is bad. Sorry for the background music.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh, run. Where is that? Singapore? Says G.
Oh wow. There's also a TikTok. Damn.
That's so funny though. The game about the mad here. Flood. Oh no. Yes. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Second wave. Oh.
Second wave. Oh, now we got a vaccine. Oh, there we go. I go. Okay. It's pretty ridiculous as well because I'm not gonna lie. You can choose the languages and all that. It's created using something a canvas. Yeah, I think. Very cool. Okay. It's a game from 2020, and then we're gonna play it for like 10 years now from now, and hopefully, yeah. Okay. Your timer is up. Yeah, you can take a break for 10 minutes.
Kais,
Yeah.
can we use a while loop for the interval thing? So like while the timer
While
is
loop.
greater than
Yeah, of course you can. You can use a while loop as well. Yeah, but yeah, I prefer setInterval because that's more natural, and because it's built-in for time management, right? And plus, while loop is just I mean, of course, there's no such thing as a hacky way in JavaScript, right? As long as it works, it's not a hacky. But yeah, do explore it. Like good way to find another solution because I didn't even know that before. I could use a while loop. Yeah. Yo guys, you guys still here?
Yeah, still trying.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Yeah, let's resume that. Yeah, it's not much left. We have to do. We're just gonna add in. Okay, now it's 7 minutes past the timer when it's still going on. See, it's gonna go on forever. But yeah, we need a way to stop this timer, right? Because otherwise, if we don't, then it's gonna end up in a memory leak. So a memory leak is something you need to consider when building a web application, because sometimes when you don't stop those functions like this one that goes on forever, your computers or your client app computer is gonna hang, and that's something that you don't want that to happen, of course. But yeah, how you can stop the set interval function is calling the set clear interval. But yeah, let's do this one. Okay, so we set the interval using set interval, but we can clear the interval using clear interval right here. Now, for example, let's say you set the timer, so you set interval right here. Okay, you execute this function like every 1 second, and then if you want to stop this, you have to call this function right here, my stop function. So it's going to clear this interval. Okay, and now it's going on, right, forever. So it's going to go on forever. So now I can click this button to stop this timer right here, this interval. So now if I click on it, now it's going to be stopped. So basically it's going to be destroyed in from my memory, right, so that I free some space or whatever. Okay, but yeah, these functions doesn't take like too much memory. It's just very little. But if you have a lot of these functions, then yeah, it's going to take up quite amount of memory. Now if I restart it again, now you need a variable to store this timer set interval right here, because if you don't store these when you initialize this timer, right, if you don't store that in a variable, you cannot clear that timer at all, because there's no memory address, right, if you can remember. Now of course in JavaScript, if you can remember the JavaScript, you can console.log anything you want, for example. Now if I go back, now it's going to be console.log. But what if, let's say I have a variable. Okay, let's call this one var, and let's assign this to 2, for example. And now I can output this one. But if I go there, I can see this 2. Now because we assign this value to a variable, we get it 2, right? Because this value is now, this variable is now stored somewhere in our memory. Okay, so that whenever we try to access using its variable, we got this value back. So in this case it's 2. Okay, but if I change this to 3, now it's going to be 3. Now say I have another variable b. Okay, now it's also, let's set it to 20, for example. Now I can access a and b because they are assigned to some values right here. Now what happens if you declare an empty variable? For example, let's call this one c, and this one doesn't have we don't want to assign any value to it. So now I'm just going to output this one c as well. Now a has a value, b has a value, but c doesn't. Now if I save, go back, c is called undefined, meaning that it has a memory address in the somewhere in our computer, but it does not have any values. So because we didn't assign any right here. Okay, so that's basically what's going on, because whenever we call this function right here, we're not assigning to any variable. Okay, we're not assigning to, let's say, like a or b or c. We're just setting the interval and then done. Okay, so now our timer is running, but without a address of it or any variable of it, right? So there's no way to access this timer right here unless I store this in a variable. Now this variable has access to this timer right here. So I can safely use clearInterval. Okay, clearInterval, what timer you want to clear. So in this case, I want to clear A right here. So let me just delete all these of one. Okay, so now this variable has access to this timer. And when I say clearInterval, A is going to clear this timer right here. Okay, the one that is stored inside this variable. I can show you guys proof right here. Now let me just comment this one. Before I start this timer, right? After I started this timer, sorry, I'm just gonna console log the variable and show you guys that this function does have an access to this, timer right here. Now if I save, refresh. Okay, I have to click on play button. Now you can see that it outputs 19. Okay, but yeah, I think this value does not have any, doesn't have anything to do with the value itself. It's just an ID for the set interval, I think. Because like we set it to 10, but the value is somewhat equal to like 19. It's supposed to be a millisecond, I think, on ID.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we just like clear interval and then put the start function inside the clear interval?
Put the clear button. Yeah, I mean, like let's see what happens here, right? Now you are saying put a set interval inside here, like
No, like it's the start function.
or in the start function. Clear
Just no. It's like the start
Okay.
bracket put inside the bracket of the clear interval. The start start bracket put inside the clear interval. Yeah, here.
Oh, okay. So this does start.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it out and see what happens. Now if I save, so this restart is gonna clear the timer. Or let's just put it inside the stop. Because like I don't want to confuse this one with the. Let's just put this inside stop. Okay. Now let's make a button. Copy this, paste that, and then stop. This should be stop. Okay. So now this is gonna call this method right here. Now if I save, refresh, play the timer first. Okay. Now let me stop. It does not work. You can see that. Right? Now why is that? Because when we say this.start, we are actually calling this function again. We're not clearing the timer, right? Because we are inside here, we are calling this function. So now at the end, it's not going to clear the timer. What it's going to do is it's going to start another timer, right? Because we're not clearing the function. Even if you take out this keyword, because there's no way to access this start function in here, is it? Because yeah, it's not going to work. So I'll get an error right here. See, start is not defined. So when I say this start, we are not clearing. Actually, we are just starting the calling the function. So at the end, it's just going to call this one, and yeah, it's not going to clear the timer actually. So yeah, that's why variable is needed in set interval.
So let's say if I set the variable also as start, it's
Yes.
not doable, right? Let start equal to set interval.
Let start. Okay. Now you
And
want to
then-
clear this one, right?
Yeah, and then just start. It's gonna confuse with the function, right?
No, because it's not going to confuse with the function. This is just a variable. JavaScript is smart enough to know that functions starts and end with these brackets, right? Yeah, but a variable doesn't. So yeah, JavaScript knows that. So, but this way, let's see what happens if we try this way, right? Now, if I save, and start is not assigned to any variable but never used. Now that's because of the scope right here. This variable start is now scope inside this function.
Local.
Yeah, local scope. So we cannot have access to this one. Okay, unless we define a variable like this above here, And then this is now a global variable, right?
Mhm.
So, and then we update the start right here. Okay, so now when a user clicks on this, we are starting the timer, and then we are storing the value inside here, or the address of the timer. Okay,
But
now
you were using A just now also, right? So it's the same, isn't it?
age
A.
A. Yeah, A and B. Yeah, because I wanted to show you an example right here, the memory address
Uh-huh.
thing. Yeah, it goes like this, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So let's just call this one a timer. Okay, now this is a timer. Oh, sorry, not the timer, because there's already timer defined in here. So what should we call it?
Start. Just how we define.
Start is already here. Counter. Okay. So this one is the counter right here. Now, this is a counter variable, okay, globally defined. So, and then whenever user clicks on this, we are updating the variable. And then when a user call this function, we have to clear the counter right here. Okay. So now if I save it now, this should work. Okay. Now if I play, it's gonna start the timer. Now see what happens if I stop this. Now stop. So yeah, basically it just stopped. But I can resume this one. Now it's gonna continue where it left off, right? Because we stopped at 5, and then we are just resuming the way we left off. We're not actually restarting, or are we, right here? But if I click on restart, it's gonna restart. Okay, so that's what happening right here. Counter, and then I can show you guys right here. But what happens if I try to stop, without starting the function right here? What happens? If I refresh, and I'm not gonna hit the play button, I'm just gonna hit the stop button right here. Nothing happens because there's no timer exists, so it just do nothing. Here, I can just click on it forever, and then I play it again. Now it works, but if I stop, now it's gonna be stopped. Or you can call this one pause, right? Instead of calling it start or stop, just call it a pause, because it's just gonna pause the timer. Because you can play it again, click it. Now you can pause it, you can play it, and you can restart it. Okay, that's how your timer should work. I mean, it's just very simple right here using these two functions. How many lines of code? Like 1, 2 lines of code to actually start the timer. Okay, now that's very simple though. But yeah, what happens, right? The one that I showed you earlier. What happens if you click the play button multiple times? If you have, try clicking on it multiple times. Now if I hit play again, hit again and again. See what happens. You can see that it's going to go on forever, right? Plus, the timer is going really fast. Now, do you guys know why this is happening?
Millisecond, they go according to?
Yeah. I mean, like, this one is like whenever we click this button, what it's doing? It's just calling this function, right? Start. Now, if we click this, like if we spam this button multiple times, like literally click on it, then it's going to create multiple set intervals. So at the end, it's just going to go really fast. So it just put in all the, stuff to the counter variable right here. So your
Why
timer
is
begins
it
and begins.
multiple?
Yeah, multiple. Because we
Why?
click it like twice.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's going to create it like 3 times or 4 times. So at the end, the seconds are becoming like after every 1 second. So it's just going to decrease the timer again and again, again and again. So it just created multiple instances of the set interval right here. So yeah, that's what is happening. That's why, it goes really fast. See? Because multiple functions or multiple callbacks are running multiple set interval right here. Yeah.
I have a question. Like
Yes.
just now you tried to set a global variable, the counter outside everything, right?
Yeah.
And then you define it in a local place, and then it still works in another, like the stop function there. Why?
Yeah, because it's global.
But then it's defined in, isn't it? It's defined in.
It's defined outside of Vue, you're telling me, right? Outside of Vue right here.
But how about the value is inside the start function?
Oh, yeah, that's because even though this variable is defined outside, right? We're not actually declaring a variable inside here, are we?
No.
We are declaring the function in a global scope, and then where inside the local scope, we are just updating its value so that, now the global variable has access to it. So global variable will be updated. Yeah, that's what we are doing. But yeah. So basically what this is doing is, let's say like, for example, so we declare this variable. Now let me try and console log this counter now and show you guys what this is, right? At first, it's going to be undefined right here, okay? Because we didn't add any value to it. But yeah, now let's see what happens after we, okay? After we update its value. So after we save it, now it's going to be undefined. But if I hit play, now it's going to be 22. The value is now updated, okay? But yeah, what happens after you clear your timer? Okay, now let's console log the counter again. Okay. Now refresh. Now my variable is undefined. If I hit play, now my variable has same value because we are storing a timer inside here. Now if I stop, it's still going to be 19, but yeah, the value has access to it, but the timer, the actual timer is stopped inside here. Okay. Actually, it should be undefined. Or you might ask, right? How about if we can, without using the clearInterval, can we just do it like this, or set it to null or some other value, right? Without using a clearInterval. So would it clear the setInterval as well? Let's try it out. If I refresh, play it again, it's going on. 7, 6, 5. But if I hit stop, no, it's actually not, because this setInterval is stored to the inside a memory. Actually, this variable only stores the address for its memory right here, but the timer is already running in the memory lab, right? So for example, let's say like I have to bring that function back up. Let me just try it. Yeah, but this way we're telling the clearInterval, calling the clearInterval, and then clear the timer of this memory address. So in this case, it was 19, right? So clear the interval at 19, but let me show you what I mean right here. Now, if I hit play, it says 19, right? But let's try clear the interval, and then the address. Would it work in here? It did. So this is the address of the memory that this value, that timer is storing, right? So that's why it works. So because let me show that again. If I play again, and then let me even stop this one without this function at all, right? There's no way to stop this. Play. Now my, the timer is at 18. Now I can use this one and then give the, the address of it. So if I say 19, it's not gonna stop. See, it just goes on. But if I say 18, now it should stop. You can see that right here. So yeah, that's why we need an variable. Otherwise, there's no way to access this interval. Oh, okay. So that's how you do it right here, set interval, clear interval. But the problem that I was intentionally to show you guys is like what happens, like if we click on this button multiple times, it goes really fast because we're storing a multiple, we're creating a multiple set interval functions right here. So that's why it goes really fast. But there's actually a very simple way to stop this. Okay, what do you think it is? It's actually really, really simple.
Set it to 0. Oh, no. Set it to.
I mean, like the function is literally just in front of us. We can just reuse this one before we start that. Right? So to prevent a multiple set intervals, right, we need to do this. Otherwise, yeah, it's not going to work. You can stop the timer right here before you start the timer. Right? So just call this stop. So it's going to stop the timer first. If exists, yeah, then it only going to start the timer. So basically, it doesn't matter how many times you spam the button. It's just gonna, create one instance only of set interval right here. So we are stopping in the function first. Okay, stop the timer. Then create the timer like this. It's just gonna restart. So if I refresh, now I click on this once. Okay, so now it starts the timer, but let's see what happens if I click multiple times. Okay, I just keep clicking on it. You can hear my mouse click right here, right? But yeah, it still works, right? Because we are clearing the timer before we start a new one. So yeah, that's now our play button is very stable, right? Let's test the restart button. Now if I hit restart, it's going to restart. But if I click it multiple times, yeah, restart is already fine now because we're not doing crazy stuff in the restart function. We're just resetting the timer to 10, right? So that's how you do it. Start and stop and clear interval. But yeah, there's one problem, and that is to prevent from 0. So when we reach to 0, we want to stop the function. Okay, we want to stop. We want to clear the interval right here. And then we also need to increment cycle. Okay, now if I play, it goes on like this. Okay, great. Now it's really working, right? The play and start button is already fine, to be honest. But yeah, we need to stop the timer right here. How do you stop how do you check whether this timer has reached to 0 in VueJS?
Use if timer smaller than 0 and then something happened.
Yeah, but we need to constantly check when the timer has reached to 0. We can do it inside here, don't you think? Right? Because this function will be called every 1 second. So let's write this function right here. And then inside here, what I'm going to do is before we decrement the timer, we need to check whether we have, whether this timer is equal to 0 or not. If it is, then we have to stop it. Then, don't run it again, right? So that's how we're going to do it inside here. So in here, before we decrement the timer, we need to check if else statement, right? Very simple one. If else, if this timer is equal to 0, okay? So check whether this timer is equal to 0 or not. If it is, then stop the timer, okay? Else, decrement the timer by 1, okay? So what this is gonna do is, like, whenever we call this start function, it's gonna check for the timer first. Now it says 10, right? So is 10 equal to 0? No. So it's gonna decrement by 1. Okay, it repeats again until, let's say, it gets to 1, right? So now the timer is 1. Is 1 equal to 0? No. It's gonna decrement it again. Now we're at 0. Okay. So after 1 second, this function is gonna be called. So now we're checking whether this timer is at 0. We are. So we are gonna stop the function right here. Okay. So then we are left at 0 right here. Okay. So this, yeah.
Can I have another logic? Like if this dot timer is smaller than 0 and then we stop at the 0, this dot timer equals to 0.
Oh, you mean like, because like, no, it should be stopped at 0, not smaller than 0. It shouldn't be stopped at like -1, because 0 is not smaller than 0. 0 is equal to 0, right? So when you say like this, it will be stopped at -1, only at -1, because -1 is the only number that is, you know,
Smaller than
0 right here. But yeah.
If the timer is smaller than 0, and then they return this timer equals to 0, so they will still stop at 0.
Okay, yeah, that's also doable.
Okay.
So you're saying this dot timer is equal to 0.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's doable. But yeah, I mean, like, why write 2 lines of code when you can just check it with 1 line, right? So that's what I try to do, like this. Yeah. So when we reach to 0, it's you know, we're just gonna stop the timer. We're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna call this function right here. Yeah, that's what we should do right here. Okay. But of course, you can do it your own way as well. Whether it's less than 0, you know, you check for the timer and then you set the timer to 0 first, and then you stop the timer. Because you know, eventually you have to call this clearInterval function right here. Otherwise, you know, there's no way to stop this setInterval.
Even I set to 0, it will still on.
It will still run, because you know, setInterval, unless you clear with the clearInterval,
I see.
there's no way to stop the setInterval. That's you know, JavaScript right here, because you know, if you refresh it, of course, like if you refresh your page, it's gonna be stopped. But yeah. Okay, so if I save, now let's test this function out and see whether, you know, we are stopped at 0. Play this. Now 9, 8. Okay, hopefully this works. Great, we are. So this app works. Okay, now our timer is now stopped at 0. But what happens if we try to restart it, right? Or if we try to click play again, what happens? It's not going to work, which is nice, right? Because that's exactly what we want. Our timer is now stopped at all. So we don't want to go beyond -0 right here. So even if I play, you know, it's not going to work, because right here we are at 0. So it's just going to call this stop right here again and again. But yeah, let's see what happens if I try to restart. Okay, restart. Now my timer is back at 10. So if I want to run this function again, you know, I still have to click play. So this is gonna work, right? And there we go, it worked. I can restart it again. I can play it again. I can play, restart, and so on. Okay. So that's what it's doing right here. Okay. But yeah, we also need to have a break timer as well in here, inside here. So say, like, you know, break timer, walk timer is 10 minutes and break timer is 10 minutes. The logic is right here, right? 1 minute for walk and 1 minute for break. Because right now we only have 2 functions, right? So we're just starting the walk timer right here. We're not starting the break timer or whatever. Okay. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to store something like cycles right here. Okay, like to track like what session we are in. So for example, are we in work session or are we in break session? So we need to know that. Okay. So to do that, what I'm going to do is start the timer. After we start the timer, you see here, after we reach to this 1 minute, 0 mark, we're just gonna rerun this again, don't you think? To start the work timer, break timer. We're just gonna recall these functions right here. Okay, call these functions again, and then pretend like that is a walk. Okay, so 1 minute for walk and 1 minute for break. So it's gonna look like, when you hit, let's start at the beginning. So this is gonna be walk, okay, and going on, right? Now you have completed your walk, right? Now it's gonna restart, okay? Now it's gonna be your break. So that's what we want to do right here, right? So to do that, after we stop this timer right here, right? What should we do inside here? First, stop the timer. Of course, we know how to stop the timer. Then, what should we do? Restart, right? Then start again. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So this is going to stop the timer. And then restart. So this is going to reset the timer to 10. Then finally, this is going to start the timer again right here. Okay. Restart the timer to 10. Okay, so we are restarting the timer to 10. And then finally, start the timer again. So it's gonna go on forever. You can see that right here. So first, what we are trying to do is whenever you call this start right here, we start in the function, okay? So this is at 10, so now it's gonna decrement right here, okay, again and again, again and again. So once we reach to 0, it's gonna stop this timer. Then it's gonna restart the timer back to number 10, okay? Then it's gonna start the timer yet again. So, and it's going to repeat forever, okay? So now if I save, play.
A bit confusing already.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like this one is just calling the function, right?
But so we are not gonna use more than 2 buttons, right? We are just gonna use play and restart, right?
Yeah, because like that's how it should work inside here, right? So when you click on play, it's just gonna like do it again and again, take a short break right here. So because it shouldn't use more than 2 buttons, yeah, of course, because otherwise, I mean, like, you don't have to manually start your session. Yeah.
So you move the stop into just
Yeah, so right here. Okay, so right here, what is going on is like, stop the timer right here, right? This one, before that one, we don't have this, right? We're just gonna stop the timer when we reach to 0, right? So now our function is stop. It's not gonna return anymore. Okay, so it's not gonna rerun anymore. So, but if I go back and then try it again, play, you can see that, it should stop at 0 right here. So we are at 6, 5, 4, now it's at 0. So now my function is stopped, right?
Can you stop at the code here a bit? Just a bit.
Oh, you need to see it. Okay.
Yeah. I cannot get it. So why do we need if for the set interval here?
Yeah, because this function is running like every 1 second, right? So every 1 second, or you don't have to use this inside the if interval. Okay, there's another way we can use. It's called watch. But I'll show you this later now, because this one is like, the most simplest one. But right here, what we're doing there, because this function right here, setInterval, what's it gonna do? It's gonna, call this function every 1 second, isn't it? So we're checking before we, decrement the timer right here. So we're checking if our timer is equal to 0, which it is not because we are at 10. Now it's going to decrement the timer by 1. Now it's going to be 9, and so on and so forth. So after 1 second, this code block will run again. So we're checking whether the timer is equal to 0. It's not. Okay, now it's at 8 because we decrement it right here, and then until it goes to 1. Okay, so now we add 1. We're checking whether our timer is at 0. No, we are not, but we have to decrement it right here. So our timer is now at 0, right? Let's say it's at 0. So after 1 second, we're checking whether our timer is at 0. We are. Okay, so we're just gonna stop the timer right here, because setInterval is like an infinite loop that runs every second. Okay, so you guys know what an infinite loop is in JavaScript, right? Infinite loop.
Yep.
Yeah, infinite loop is like constantly running forever and forever. So, but our setInterval is exactly like that. It's like an infinite timer. So unless you tell it to stop, it's not gonna stop. So yeah, that's what is happening. setInterval is like should call setInterval. It's like an infinite loop that runs on every second. Okay, right here. So we're stopping the timer. Or you can use that instead of using this. You can use Vue Watch. Do you guys know Vue Watch? Vue has something pretty cooler. Okay, why it doesn't work anymore? Eh? Oh, because our timer is already at 0. Let's set this to 10. Okay, great, now it works. Does it work, Jane, on your end?
Trying to see, because since the start, I don't think my timer works.
Oh, really? How come?
I'm not sure what. Yeah.
Okay, can you share your screen so that I can see it better?
Wait,
So, sorry, just a quick question while Jane is sharing the screen.
Yeah.
If I click my start button like many times before I click on the restart,
Yes.
I still wouldn't be able to stop the timer from counting down, right? Because when I was first clicking the start multiple times, it has triggered multiple events. Is it?
Yeah, but actually we're stopping the timer right here. You can see that before we call in the setInterval, right? So this
Yep.
shouldn't happen. Yeah, because we're stopping it. But unless you take out this one, and if you take out this, function right here, you will create a multiple setInterval here.
Okay, I understand. Yep. Jean is sharing a screen, is it?
yeah. Wait, because I'm still finding the error.
Okay, great, cool. setInterval.
Is it here? Am I doing?
No. You wrote your function wrong right here. It should be a function that takes in a callback. Your function parameter should takes in another function. Yeah.
My function. Okay. Hey, no. This one is not here. Very confusing. Oh, it's
Yeah,
here.
the callback is like you have to get used to its syntax. Okay, that's how you write a callback, right? Yeah, try writing it on one line first. Try writing it on one line. And then one line. And then add a comma below beside it.
That-
Yeah, and then specify a millisecond. No, that's a comma, not the.
I mean here? Yeah. I mean here.
Yeah, no, the way you were previously doing was correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You're asking me to do one by one to bring it in, is it?
Yeah, because like that way, you can, because syntax is not clear. So yeah. Okay, so that's how you write it. Okay, and then put in the curly brackets. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Or line
you
by
can-
line.
yeah. So now put the curly brackets on another line on your line 37. Yes, there we go. So that's how you write your function inside another function. It's a callback. So callback meaning it takes in a function as a parameter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's quite confusing as well. I agree, because you have to get used to its syntax. It's like you've never seen a function that takes another function as a parameter. Like, what the hell is going on, right? So like we've seen the functions but basically we've never seen a function that takes in another function as a parameter. But of course, later you will have to learn it. But yeah, do try it out on your own. It's like after a while, we're going to be using these callback functions later. But yeah. Okay, so now can you test it out?
63.
Oh,
Yeah, I always have this thing. I don't know why. It's the
Okay.
color is not right as well. Is it?
no, because you have a different theme. I think it's okay. But yeah, no, I mean, you have to take out the stop. There's two stop. You can see. Can you see that?
This.
Two
This
stop
one?
function.
Oh.
Okay, save it. Oh, and
But
firstly,
it's always here.
yeah, if you scroll up in your
Uh-huh.
code, are you putting your methods inside a method object? Oh, you are. Okay, wait, let me see. Okay, where does this curly brackets end on from the methods?
Here.
Well, there should be another one.
Eh? Ah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
for
go.
this thing, right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Okay, now start the timer.
Play.
Okay, it's working.
But why the speed like that?
Oh, speed is faster, right?
It's like
When you
slow,
click it.
slow, fast.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you go
like,
back to your code and then see, what, are you clearing the timer before you start?
oh, is it because it's 2000? I think it's because of 2000.
Yeah, it should be millisecond. Yeah, 1 second.
1 second?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, 1000 is a
Uh-huh.
1000 millisecond is equal to 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, now it should work.
Oh, but if I do double, it's gonna be
Oh, because you're not stopping the function before, are you?
I did. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
But you're not assigning the variable. When you start a timer, do you see it?
I think is it because
Yeah. Because you have to store that in a memory address, right? Otherwise, there's no way to clear the timer. And now it should work. See? Now it's working fine.
but then like wouldn't it like affecting the time, because when you click you stop already and then it's not really according to like 1 second,
No, it is actually, because whenever you stop the timer, we are not resetting the timer to 10. We're just stopping it right where it was. So when you restart, when you start it again, it's gonna continue where it left off, not create a new instance.
Yeah, but like for this one, how if you see if I play and
Yeah.
then sorry, we start first and then I play
Yep.
and then I click once, it's gonna stop and continue. So like there's like more than
Oh,
one
there's like a
second.
little delay, you were saying.
Yeah, it doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, that's a small issue, but yeah, we have to fix it. Of course, like, but it's not too noticeable. But what it's actually doing is like clearing the timer first, then only then restarting the timer, right?
Okay.
So it takes in fully like 1 second to finish that process
Mhm.
because we are only restarting, we are calling them 1 second, right?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so right here, where were we? Okay, right here, crash. If I play again, I was gonna restart again and again and again and again. Oh, not sharing much. Okay. Now refresh. Now if I hit play, okay, it's gonna go on like 1 second and so on and so forth, right? But yeah. Does anyone have any question at this point, or shall we proceed? Anyone who is not able to follow along, or you do have any errors in your code, just feel free to let me know that.
No issue for me.
Okay, nice. All right, so another one is the one I want to show you is another very cool, very cool, yeah, Vue property called watch. Now, you won't use this for a while, but of course you will eventually need it when you start to build things with VueJS, right? It's called watch. Now, what's a watch? It's a watch, okay? Watch, it's not like your handmade watch, but it's actually watch a data property, right? So for example, let's say like, where's the watcher? Okay, right here, watchers. This is the most useful when you want to perform action, asynchronous or expensive operation in response to a change in data. Now, what it means by change in data is something that whenever your data property is updated, you can call this function using watch. Okay. Now, for example, let's say like, for example, a question. Okay. So when this question data property is updated, right here, waiting for you to stop typing. So they are calling this function right here, if that makes sense, right? So basically, watch will watch one data property, and whenever a data property is updated, it reacts to it. Okay. So that's what is going on. So it watch a property. That's what it's trying to do. So it's that simple, right? But the feature is very useful. You can see that. So you can react on some things when something happens, right? So say like this, okay, say for example, the real world example would be like your book search app. So you have your book application, and then you're trying to search all the books. Okay, so user inputs their queries for the book. So they search for a book with the title of, let's say, Harry Potter. Okay, now when they search for those keywords, you can show them a related search results using this, don't you think? So when your search data property is updated, you call a function, okay, and then you show them a related result like that, and so on. So yeah, that's what it's trying to do. But let's see how we can implement this in here. Okay, so now in here,
Guys,
yeah,
sorry. So does that mean that it's another function, or it's
yeah,
just
it's actually another function. It's
okay.
it watches
Built in?
for a property and then it
Mhm.
calls a function. That's what it's showing up.
It's like last time we learned the promise thing like that, or in like the event listener.
Event listener. Yeah, it's similar to event listener, but event listener doesn't work on data property, does it? Event listener are for things like such as click, like input, and something like, whenever user clicks on a mouse key or keyboard keys, they are events. They are actually done by some users, right? That requires human interaction. Those are the things. Those are events. But watch are for properties or data properties. Okay, for example, let's say like, this timer won't be updated by us. It's updated by this setInterval, isn't it? So yeah, in this case, we have to use watch for that. So because like we want to watch the data property when it change. Okay, so let me just quickly show you like quick example right here, right? So say like I have a question. This question is like this. Okay, now it's my data property, right? So it's just literally nothing. But I want to watch this question. Okay, watch. That's how you define it. It's another object similar to how you define a methods, right? So whenever you want to use watch something, you have to define an object first. Then inside here, which data property you want to watch. So you specify the data property, the name of the property that you want to watch. So in this case, I want to watch question. Okay, watch question, and then you have to define a function like this. Now this is like a normal function similar to these. Okay, so we are watching the function, we are watching the data property called question, and then we are calling this function whenever this property is updated. Now let me just console the log. Question is now updated. Okay, so what this is going to do is whenever this question data property is updated, we are console logging the question is now updated. So basically, at the end of the day, what this watch property is trying to do is just watching this data property. So whenever it is updated, it's going to call this function right here, watch for question. Okay. So now see what happens if I try to update this question. Well, let me go back and then let me open up a view and then console down here. Okay, so now down here is my console. How do I open this in another browser? Okay, anyway, let's just go back to app. So now my question property is nothing, right? It's just there's nothing. But let me edit this and then change this to, let's see, like hello world. Okay. Now once I hit enter, question is now updated. You can see that whenever this guy is updated, we are calling this function right here. Okay. And now if I change this again to another one, question is now updated. Okay, now let me change this again to whatever. That's going to be 3 times. So you can see that it just literally tracking, this property right here. So yeah, tracking or whatever you might want to call it right here. So watch, okay. The first the property that you have to give, watch, and then the function name right here. Okay, so yeah, that's what it's trying to do.
Is it a Vue method or it's JavaScript?
It's a view watcher. They are called view watcher.
Okay.
It's not a method. Okay, it's not a data property. It's just a watcher. So watcher, right? So that's why they call them watcher right here, because you don't call methods watcher, because methods can run only when they are called. But watchers depends on the data property right here. Okay, so but these methods you have to call them manually, right? So when I click on this button, I call these methods. But for the watcher, when this question is updated, we are just calling the function right here. Okay. Now if I save and then let me show you guys what this is. A Vue documentation. You can read the Vue documentation right here. Right here you can see that, right? Ask a question, no question right here. Now whenever I try to ask a question, right? So waiting for you to stop typing, thinking. Okay. Questions usually contain a question mark. So depending on whatever I'm typing in here is updating the, like a placeholder name right here. No. Okay. Yes. If I keep typing, then it says waiting for you to stop typing. Now if I stop, it says thinking, yes, blah, 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 and so on. So it's just randomly picking the answers. because based on my question, it's showing me different things, right? You can see that right here. So whenever I update my question, it says waiting for you to stop typing. The bounce gets answer. So it called this method somewhere down here. Okay. Yeah, ignore this one. These are very confusing, to be honest. These things. Why would they put the bounce get answer and create a function? Ignore these. You will later learn, all these lifecycle hooks. But yeah, you can just put these the bounce get answer to a method if you want. In this case, we want to limit how often we access yes, no, WTF API, waiting until user is completely finished. Oh, okay, they are sending in, fetch API requests to get some answers. That's what they are trying to do. Okay, cool. So it's similar to how, in JavaScript, there's no such thing as watchers or whatever, right? But in Vue, there is. I mean, Vue is basically a JavaScript, but the syntax is different. Okay, so right here, what I wanted to show you guys is another one. Okay, this is a question. We're watching for a question now, right? But instead of watching the question, why not we watch the timer right here? Okay, so now our timer is updated. Okay, so whenever our timer change, we are showing this function right here, or we're calling this function right here. Okay, so it's just gonna do this. Now if I save, then go back, hit play again, our timer is updated. So whenever our timer is updated, right, every 1 second, it's literally outputting all the console right here, this thing. Okay, watcher for timer. Watch for timer. We call it a watcher. Okay. Now, what I wanted to show you is that we can make use of this, watcher right here. So when our timer reaches to 0, I mean, like right here, right? So you guys don't like this, right? This one is pretty confusing. I understand that, but yeah. So right here, this setInterval is just gonna decrement the timer. So its job is to stop the timer. If it exists, then start the timer. Okay. Now, inside watcher, we're gonna do a custom logic right here. So when our timer reaches to 0, we're gonna stop in here. Okay, instead of inside here. Before that, we used to do it inside here, but now let's not do that. Okay, so we're watching the timer. If this timer is equal to 0, what should we do? We're just gonna stop. Stop the timer when it reaches to 0. Now we're checking whether our timer is now at 0. If it is, then we are stopping it right here, right? So this one is like a very, generic, because now our setInterval does not have a if-else statement anymore. We just move this up right here. Okay. So whenever our timer property changes, this is gonna do this logic right here. Okay. By the way, do you guys know this? What is a triple sign? Triple check in JavaScript?
Strict.
Strict mode. What do you mean by strict mode?
The value and the type of data is the same?
Yes, exactly. So I'll show you guys right here, right? Because I think it's quite important to understand right here. Now, when you comment 0, with 0 is true, even though the left 0 is a string, right? And the right one is a number right here. Now, if you do this with the triple equal sign, it's going to be false, because triple sign, checks for the equality first of all and the data type as well. So the type is not the same, string and a number. So it says false. Okay. But for this one, it just checks for the value. Okay. And 1 is equal to 1, it says true, but not for this. Zero is not a number. What? 0 is a number, right? I was just playing around with the Vue JavaScript the other day. I found something weirdness about this.
What is
It's
NaN?
It stands for not a number in JavaScript. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because weird NA in JavaScript. NA in JavaScript. If you search for it, right? See, for example, right here. So ASF, according to this guy right here, ASF, which is a string, is not a number, and it's false, meaning it's a number in JavaScript. Yeah, JavaScript is a really weird language, to be honest, because because it was created by some guy back in 2000, I think, like 1995. Within 9 days, within 9 days, just 9 days to create. Yeah.
And then did he sell his
No, he
framework?
didn't actually, but he just took a break from it for 10 years, and then came back to it later, I think. Which right now JavaScript is now improved a lot, but you can see the ESNext. Go to the ESNext and then check for the JavaScript version, or not this ESNext. Then you can see the full history of JavaScript and where it's come from, because I think it's pretty important to know the history between them. So you go all the way down, you can see that it was released in 1997. Okay, and then in ES2 they released it, but yeah, and ES3 till ES3, after that they just abandoned the project for 10 years, and then started working on it, and now still at the top. So yeah, pretty inspiring as well, considering that they just abandoned this project for 10 years.
Is JavaScript the most widely used language?
Yeah, it actually is. It actually is. Because if you Google the web, most popular web development framework, JavaScript is at top. It's everything is JavaScript nowadays. Even if you rely on something like, if you are old schooler and then you rely on C# or ASP.NET and all these other stuff, they are still useful. You still can do a lot of things with it, but yeah, JavaScript is constantly updated. You see, they have the ES10 for this. It was released in the summer of 2019. So yeah, and then it just keeps getting better, I guess. And performance-wise, JavaScript is very cool as well. And also there's also Node.js, and now we have VueJS. VueJS is not a like JavaScript. VueJS is still a JavaScript, but it's a framework for JavaScript. So what I mean by framework is a JavaScript language simplified for the developer. So that's what it's trying to do. So yeah, you can see that JavaScript, if you were to write this code in a JavaScript, you would be writing 50 lines of code. But in Vue.js, all you will have to do is write 5 lines of code or 6 lines and be done with it. So yeah, that's the Vue part. Anyway, so now if I play the timer again, pause it. Okay, now if I play it again, Okay, now it still works, but it should stop at 0. Hopefully it does. It did, so which is working fine. Okay, now inside here, after we do that, we need to restart the timer using watch. How do you guys think we can achieve that in the watch? Because in watch, when we are at 0, we're stopping the timer right here. You can literally see that. Okay, because this function runs every 1 second. But when we reach to 0, you know how we stop the timer. Okay, that's done. But how do we start the
Add
timer again?
cycle. Oh, okay.
Sorry?
No, I was thinking add cycle at the same time.
Add a
no,
cycle.
not yet, right? Because it's supposed to be
Yeah.
one work, one break.
Yeah.
Go to restart.
Okay.
Call restart.
Call restart. Okay. And then
Do we
what?
want to make it automatically go, or you're gonna start?
No, we need to make it automatically go, because like so the user doesn't have to click on it again and again, because it's supposed to be time management, right? So user doesn't want that to happen, because they just want to focus on their thing, and then after let's say like 5 minutes, they come back to check their timer, and if it says break, then they're gonna take a break, and so on.
Then
Yeah.
start again.
Okay, no, that's correct. That's correct, because that's what it's supposed to do. Now, because right here, we are, whenever we stop the timer, we restart it, and then we start again and again. But let's just see what it does right here. Now when play, it's gonna create a timer for like 10 seconds, I guess. Now what I should do is like see what happens there, and there we go. Okay.
Oh, 0. So
Oh yeah, wasn't no 0, right?
so guess
Oh, okay, I see the problem right here. Yeah, you're right, Jin. I think we need to do this. Yeah,
smaller than 0.
smaller than 0. Okay, now this should work. This should work, hopefully.
Yay!
Yeah, I was scared not to go beyond like 0, minus 1.
It's interesting because they wouldn't even let like lesser than 0 to show.
Yeah, because like lesser than 0.
And then they run all the thing below that.
Yeah, that's because, you know what? Because our timer is at -1. Let's say like, our timer is at 0. Now, is 0 less than 0? No, it is not, right? So it's not going to run all these. So what it's going to do is just going to decrement the timer by -1. And then it should display it in here, but somehow it doesn't. Do you know why? Because we should output, we should get -1 in here.
Because we restarted already.
No. Timer is at -1 mark.
Uh-huh.
So say like if timer is at -1, like this.
Uh-huh.
Now this one is at less than 0. -1 is less than 0, so it's gonna stop. But what I mean is that right here, right? We are displaying the timer inside here. Yeah, so it should show a -1 in here. Oh, that's because we are modulo right here, I think. So if -1 modulo 60, it should be 0, I think. No, it's still -1.
I think it's because when it's -1 and then it runs the restart and start, so there's no time to show at all.
Yeah, I think so, because like right here, if I try it again, 10. Now if I hit play, okay, 0, 10. Okay, let's check in the console right here, right? In the app. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh, holy cow, what the heck? No, it didn't even go to the -1. Oh, yeah, you're right. Right here. So when we set the timer, because we start at 10, right? So 10, it's gonna run for 10 times. Sorry, 9 times. Should only run for 9 times because -1 and -1. Yeah.
10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, 10 times. Should be 10 times. Because this one runs for 1 second, right? If I change this to 2 seconds, now see how it outputs now. Okay, first. Okay, it's gonna take a while. Let me just celebrate the time. Okay.
Yeah.
And how does it know to stop the timer? Because
I
0
think
is
it's
not
because
less than 0, is it?
no,
0 is equal to 0.
I think when it goes to negative, so it straight go to restart. So it's go to 10. So it cannot even let the -1 to show.
Yeah,
It stopped
yeah.
already. Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Guess
that's the case. Hopefully, but yeah, I'll have to explore. And this is a really weird thing that I just got. Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Okay, so right here is the one. Okay, so now it starts the timer, but yeah, we need to increment the cycle in here, right? But also we need to check whether we are in a break mode or we are in a session mode, work mode. Okay, so we can do this with very simple data property called is work. Okay, and it's set to true at first. So now what this property is going to do is based on the timer, because you have to work first, then only take a break, right? So it goes from work first, break second, work first, break second, work first, break second. Now, so before we start this one, right? After we start this one, when our timer is at 0, what should we do? We need to, like negate it right here.
Yeah.
So is work will become false, okay? And then after that, is work will become true. So negation character, you know what a negation is in JavaScript? Negation means like true to false and false to true. Okay. So for example, let's say like true. Is true in JavaScript? Yes, it is, right? But if I make true is equal to not true, which will be false. So that exclamation mark stands for the negate. Negate means like make the Boolean type the opposite of it right here. So true will be converted to a false value and false will be true now. So not false will be true. Okay, so just read this as not right here. Okay, not. So not false obviously means true. Not true is mean false. Okay, so we need to like negate this right here. So when our timer is at 0, we're gonna set is walk to not this is walk. Do you guys know what this is doing right here? As this one is used a lot in VueJS. Okay, so what this is basically doing is like if this is a true, it's gonna update this to false. If it is false, then it's gonna update it to true, and so on and so forth. So false to true and true to false, right? Or you can just do it manually right here if you don't want to get too, like this. Now we're at the break, right? So we're not gonna be walking anymore. Okay. This part right here. So right here, we're gonna check if this is walk is equal to true, meaning that, you know, whether we are in walk mode or are we walking? Are we in walk session? Okay. If we are, then we're gonna set is walk to false, meaning that, you know, we should take a break. Okay. Else, if not, you know, are we in break session? Sorry, if else means like there's no, you know, we are in break session. Now after that, we're just gonna walk again. Okay, this dot is walk will be set to true. Okay, so this one if else statement, do you guys understand this, or is this too right here? It's like you can see the, you know, literal syntax right here. What are we doing? If we are walking, then, you know, when our timer reaches to 0, we take a break. Else, you know, if we are in a break session, then we're just gonna walk again. So
It's
yeah,
the same as the exclamation mark, right?
yeah, it's the same as the exclamation mark. But you can see that why the exclamation mark is very useful. Yeah, but, you know, we have to write like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't like a code that's written more than 100 lines. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, just do this one if you want, or, you know, if you want to try the negate one, you can do this as well. Is equal to not as well. Okay, there's nothing stopping you from doing this, because this one is preferred actually, right? Because you can see that, you know, why this is very simple. It's just gonna make the data property to, you know, the opposite value of what it is right here. If it is true, then it's going to make it to false. If it is false, then it's going to make it to true. Something like this. If we're in a work session, you know, we take a break. Else, you know, we're working again. So based on this one, you know, we can determine whether we are in a work session or we are in a break session right here. Okay. So now if I go back, save it. Now let's look inside the view data property and go inside our app. Now you can see that our walk is set to true, meaning that we have to walk first. Now if I hit play, now we are in walk mode, meaning that we are walking, right? I was gonna run. Okay. Okay, we are taking a break right here. Okay, now we're taking a break. Okay, it's gonna go on a while. Okay, now we are working again. So one cycle is completed. One full cycle. Right here. Okay, so this one is very simple right here, right? And by the way, I simplify this a lot right here. Okay, because so now based on this thing, we can show a different message like, you know, walk or timer or whatever, right? So yeah, I mean, I'll leave this to you right here. Is walk is true, then, you know, you're walking. If it is not, then, you know, you shouldn't be walking. And yeah, this is the code that we wrote today. Okay, and it includes a true session, right? But of course, it's not, we're not incrementing the cycle or whatever. But yeah, you can see the point. You can do it manually in here. When we reach to this point, you know, you can just walk again. In the walk again session, you can just increment the cycle in here. Okay, and yeah, let's look at the code for this. Now I'm gonna close this now, and then I'm gonna show you a code for the actual Vue Pomodoro. Okay, done. Now, if I open this up, and here's the code for this. Okay, and because this one is very literally, you can see that, you know, this one is way too confusing because we're including all these, you know, like stylings and sessions and all the settings as well, right? But of course, you know, if you can build this in this way, the one that I show you here, which is also working fine, to be honest. This one is nothing too crazy. It's this one, the logic is pretty much the same, right here. The features are the same. But only feature, you know, that this project is missing is, you know, the settings and the cycle right here. That's it. We can play it. We can restart it right here. So yeah, and then we wrote this code in a like Pomodoro. If I go back, and we wrote this code in like how many lines of code? And then not including the styles, because styles are like, you know, really long. You can see that, but they are pretty much useless. So don't include them. 70 lines of code right here. 70. Okay. Not including the style. If I check this one, the actual one, it's like 118. I don't even know why I wrote this, to be honest. 118. But yeah, this was when I made this, you know, like in Russia. So in seconds multiplied by 10 and so on. So this is the actual code. And of course, I can show you a source code, send you a link for the source code here, right? The link for the source code is this one. Okay, you can explore it by yourself. And I will push the updated code for this one right here, right? Okay, guys. Yeah, I think any questions though, because like if not, then I'll just gonna push it up.
So far, so good.
Okay, cool, no worries. Okay, let me.
I'm not sure how others. You guys got other question?
Sorry.
No, I'm asking others.
Oh, sorry.
So far, so good.
Okay, cool. What about another ones?
I use another method.
Oh, nice. What method
Yeah.
did you use?
I basically just create another function called toggle, so I didn't use the watch.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Can you show us your code? We wanna
Sure.
see. Yeah.
Yichin is another level.
So I created this method here.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And then basically I just call the method in the start now.
Wow, dang, this looks very impressive. Yeah, no worries, because like you also have a status, right? You also have a status.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then I call it in here.
oh, so it says like, you know, whether you should study or you should take a break.
Yep.
Nice. Oh, wow.
How long did you take to do this?
While paying attention actually.
Oh, you also have a cycles as well. Nice.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Eugene, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's very impressive.
Impressive for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Eugene?
Tyson.
Tyson. Yeah, Tyson.
Sorry, I can't keep up. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Let me know if you have any question though. Okay. All right.
Tyson, is this
Yeah.
your another email?
Yeah,
Huh?
it is. Is this your another email?
Which one?
The one that you're using currently?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Because like, yeah, you were previously joining with the Eugene Tan account. I thought, oh, yeah. No worries. So yeah, I think if no any question, then shall we take a picture?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Hold on.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Yeah, I gotta stop recording. Otherwise, all our faces will be inside the corner.
Okay.
And then